Hello and welcome to White Hare Investigations. I'm your host, Anna Rucco. The Strange Life of Jimmy Brooks, a possible theory. Jimmy Brooks is a minor character featured in Red Dead Redemption 2, and his tale begins at Register Rock with a carving. J. Brooks, U.S. Post 1863. The way this is carved seems to suggest that the U.S. Post route belonged to Jimmy Brooks, making him a U.S. postal worker in 1863. Jimmy Brooks was a resident of the town of Blackwater in May of 1899 during the Blackwater Massacre. He witnessed the incident and saw at least Arthur Morgan's face. The Blackwater Massacre was an infamous and violent gunfight involving the Vanderlyn Gang, the Blackwater Police Department, the Pinkerton National Detective Agency, and Lyndon Ricketts, which took place in the town of Blackwater in May 1899 during a robbery on a nearby ferry. You first encounter Jimmy Brooks in the mission Polite Society, Valentine Style. This is roughly in April of 1899. Arthur Morgan encounters Jimmy Brooks in Valentine, where he recognizes Morgan as having been in Blackwater with the Vanderlyn Gang during the botched ferry robbery. Arthur attempts to convince him otherwise, but Brooks rides off in fear. Morgan chases him across the country on his horse until Brooks falls off his own and is left hanging off a cliff, begging to be saved. Arthur then has the choice of either saving Jimmy or letting him die. Polite Society Valentine-style choices. If you choose to kill him. Not wishing to take any chances on him, Arthur ensures that Jimmy won't say a word by stamping on his hands and thus causing him to plummet to his death. If you choose to rescue him. After helping Jimmy up from the cliff, Arthur threatens him into not saying a word about the fact that he was in Blackwater. Brooks is extremely grateful for his life being saved and promises that he will not tell anyone, before giving Arthur a steel pen and then riding away. The pen which Jimmy gives Arthur can be sold to a fence for $10. No other pens can be found in the game. Since this mission is really the first time you get to make a morality choice, does the pen represent that you are in control of writing your own future? The next mention of Jimmy Brooks is at the Strange Man's house. There is a poem about Jimmy Brooks in the Strange Man's shack at Bayal Edge, chronicling either his death or survival, depending on whether or not Arthur saved him. So this means that Arthur's moral choices are being closely watched by the Strange Man in some fashion or another. The Strange Man's house is located at Bayal Edge, south by southwest of La Grotte. As you enter the shack, to your left there is an end table with a poem about Jimmy Brooks and his fate. Now, depending on your choices that you made, there will be two different versions of the poem located on the end table. If you save Jimmy, the poem will read, "There was a man called Jimmy Brooks, who was always running into crooks, till one chased him down and he had to talk his way round that Jimmy isn't as dumb as he looks." But now if you kill Jimmy, the poem of course changes, and it reads this way. "There was a man called Jimmy Brooks, who was always running into crooks, but the man from the ferry found him far too contrary. Now Jimmy's family don't see him very much." I find it interesting that the last line of the "If You Kill Jimmy" poem is vague in Jimmy's outcome. It doesn't say that his family will never see him again, just that they don't see him very much. This could lead one to speculate that Jimmy is not dead, but since Arthur chose the dishonorable outcome, Jimmy is also punished and not allowed to be with his family. Now that we've got all the details from the game about Jimmy Brooks, let's see if the timeline actually fits. Now we know that the Blackwater Massacre happened in the month of May. We also know that the New Hanover Gazette issue 27, St. Denis Times issue 43, Blackwater Ledger issue 62, those were all printed in May, and they carry the story of the Blackwater Massacre, so they had to have been printed after the actual incident happened. So I'm guessing that the Blackwater Massacre happened within the first week of May, the 1st through the 6th. And based on this, I'm guessing it's probably going to be on the 5th, which was a Friday. That would have been the most likely time that the monthly payroll to pay employees would have been brought over on the ferry hence why the Vanderlyn gang wanted to hit it. Now, week 2 of May would have seen the Vanderlyn gang arriving in Coulter, and that's when the events of Chapter 1 transpires during week 2 of May. During the hunting trip with Javier, him and Arthur discussed leaving the mountain area when the snow and ice thawed. In 1899, Alaska and parts of Canada gradually thawed over the month of May as spring's warmth crept north. By June, nearly all of the snow was gone. History fact. The Great Blizzard of 1899, also known as the Great Arctic Outbreak of 1899 and the St. Valentine's Day Blizzard, was a very severe winter weather event that affected almost all of the United States, especially east of the Rocky Mountains. Formed February the 10th, 1899, it dissipated on February the 14th, 1899. It has been estimated that over 100 people died, and it set low temperature records from Alaska all the way south to Florida. -2 degrees Fahrenheit in Tallahassee on February 13th, 1899 is just one example. I wonder if Rockstar used this blizzard as a hint for the blizzard featured during the gang's time in Coulter. So with these details, we can safely assume that weeks 3, 4, 5 of May and the first week of June would have been the time that they were traveling from Coulter to Horseshoe Overlook. So with the timeline so far, that would put you and the Vanderlyn gang first being able to go into Valentine in the second week of June, which would roughly give Jimmy Brooks 6 weeks to have traveled from Blackwater to Valentine when he spots Arthur. Since Jimmy may have worked for the Postal Service, could he have been the one driving this mail cart when it was abandoned? Now, it is there in story mode, which is, you can find it as early as April of 1899, but it is not there in online mode, which is 1898. Now, the mail cart does contain 5 undelivered letters that the player can read in single player. The letters are undelivered, but they do seem to date to the present correct game time. Based on the facts and the information that I was able to find, I've come up with a theory. Jimmy Brooks, the theory. Jimmy Brooks was working for the U.S. Postal Service when he was ambushed or attacked. He was mortally wounded when he was approached by the strange man and a deal was struck, which put him into service or some kind of servitude. As part of the deal, he was sent to test the morality of Arthur, but with his fate somehow intertwined with Arthur's decision. Thus, Jimmy Brooks is just one of the countless people that may be in service to the strange man in exchange for a deal of some kind.